Welcome to T News 9 channel. We're continuing our journey with the novel Love is Reborn. Today, we're diving into Chapter 11. Small changes don't feel small. Let's begin. Jack stared at the message he had typed out, his thumb hovering over the send button. But he didn't press it. He didn't delete it either. He just let it sit there, a silent testament to a thought he couldn't yet act on. For him, even that felt like progress, a tiny step forward from the abyss he'd been in. The next morning, something shifted. Jack woke up early, not because an alarm jolted him awake, but because a quiet resolve pulled him from sleep. He found himself making the bed, meticulously tucking the corners just the way Emily always had. At first, the crisp, wrinkle-free surface looked foreign, almost wrong. But as he stared, it settled into something that felt right. A small piece of order in his chaotic world. He moved to the kitchen, not with the usual rushed, angry energy of his recent mornings, but with a slow, deliberate care. He washed the dishes, dried them, and put them away. He even lined up the shoes by the front door, an absent-minded habit he hadn't realized he'd lost. He paused, a soft, self-aware laugh escaping his lips. "I remember," he whispered into the empty room, the words hanging in the air like a promise. This newfound mindfulness followed him to work. In meetings, Jack found himself listening more than he spoke, truly hearing what his colleagues were saying instead of just waiting for his turn to talk. He even offered an apology for a past mistake, a simple, direct, "I'm sorry," without any excuses or justifications. The surprise on their faces was mirrored by his own. It felt strange, yet liberating. That night, back in the quiet of his house, Jack opened his phone and reread the unsent message to Emily. His fingers moved, adding a single, crucial line at the end. "I'm learning how to show up." He still didn't send it. The time wasn't right. But he knew, with a certainty that settled deep in his bones, that the real change wasn't happening in the words he was writing. It was happening in the small, consistent actions he was taking.
Chapter 12 of Love is Reborn, titled The Thing He Always Avoided. Jack had always prided himself on his ability to dodge uncomfortable conversations. He framed it as staying calm, a way to keep the peace. But his ex-wife, Emily, had a different name for it: not listening. That phrase echoed in his mind, haunting him throughout the morning. It was a simple accusation, but it cut deeper than any loud argument ever could. As lunchtime arrived, Jack found himself sitting alone, the solitude offering no comfort. Instead, his mind became a cinema, replaying their old disagreements. He wasn't thinking about the shouting matches or the slammed doors. No, his memory was stuck on the quiet moments, the subtle ones that he had so easily dismissed. The times Emily would try to talk, her voice soft but earnest, while he was only half present, his mind already somewhere else. He remembered her saying, "It's fine," with a sigh he never questioned. He had taken her words at face value, relieved to avoid a conflict. He'd told himself he was just keeping things calm, but now, sitting alone with his thoughts, a painful realization washed over him. Emily hadn't just stopped talking to him one day. He had stopped hearing her long before that. He had tuned out the nuances, the pleas hidden behind her quiet resignation. The problem wasn't her silence, it was his deafness. That afternoon, propelled by this new, uncomfortable clarity, Jack did something he hadn't done in years, something he had actively avoided. He picked up his phone and called his sister. When she answered, he didn't waste time with small talk. "I think I messed up," he confessed, the words feeling heavy and foreign on his tongue. The line went quiet. For a moment, Jack braced himself for a lecture, for an "I told you so." But what came next was simpler, and somehow, more profound. His sister's voice was steady as she replied, "I know." And for the first time, Jack didn't fight back. He didn't offer excuses or try to defend his past actions. He just listened. He let her quiet acknowledgement sink in, accepting the truth of it without resistance. He was finally hearing what others had been trying to tell him all along. Later that night, Jack found himself staring at the unsent message he had drafted to Emily. He opened it and, with a newfound sense of purpose, added another line, a raw confession. "I didn't hear you when you were asking me to." As he typed the words, a tightness seized his chest, a familiar ache of regret. But alongside it, something else stirred a strange feeling of lightness. It was the feeling of a weight being lifted, a burden he didn't even realize he was carrying. For the first time in a very long time, Jack wasn't running from the truth. He was facing it, head, and in that simple act of honesty, a new chapter was beginning.
Chapter 13 of the novel Love is Reborn, titled Asking for Advice is Harder Than Apologizing. Jack thought, saying, "I'm sorry to Emily was the toughest thing he'd ever have to do." He couldn't have been more wrong. The real challenge is asking his friend Mark for advice. That evening, over coffee, the air felt heavy. Jack and Mark had a long history, a friendship built on Mark's unflinching honesty, the kind that often said what Jack needed to hear, not what he wanted to. Jack stared into his coffee cup, as if searching for answers in the dark liquid. Finally, he spoke, the words barely a whisper. "I think I want her back." He braced himself for a reaction, a smile, a cheer, maybe even an "it's about time." But Mark offered none of that. Instead, he met Jack's gaze with a simple, piercing question. Why? The question hung in the air. Jack opened his mouth to give a quick reply, but stopped. The easy answers felt hollow, dishonest. "Because I miss her," he said, the words feeling small and inadequate. Mark just nodded slowly. "That's not enough." Jack let out a long sigh. He knew Mark was right. A heavy silence settled between them before Mark spoke again, his voice gentle but firm. "Do you want her back, or do you want to be better?" That question hit Jack like a ton of bricks. It was a revelation. Wanting Emily back was a selfish desire, all about filling a void within himself. But becoming a better man, that was about her. It was about deserving her. It was about being the person she needed him to be. The entire conversation shifted something deep inside him. When Jack returned home that night, he walked right past his phone, ignoring the unread message from Emily. His focus was elsewhere. He pulled out a fresh notebook, opened it to a blank page, and at the very top, he wrote a single, powerful sentence. What kind of man does she deserve? And for the first time in a very long time, Jack didn't rush to find the answer. He was ready to do the work. Chapter 14 of the novel Love is Reborn, titled Changing Without Being Seen. Let's continue the story. Jack didn't tell anyone he was changing. He didn't post about it. He didn't talk about it. He didn't ask for credit. He just did the work. He started showing up on time everywhere he went. He learned to listen without interrupting, to truly hear what others were saying. And when he made a mistake, he apologized without defending himself, without making excuses. At first, all of it felt strange. It was like wearing someone else's shoes, uncomfortable, awkward, not quite right. But slowly, day by day, the unfamiliar started to feel normal. The new habits began to settle in, becoming a part of who he was. One evening, Jack decided to cook dinner. Not the usual frozen food from a box or takeout from a greasy bag. He made real food, from scratch. A small, almost bitter laugh escaped him as he stood over the stove. He remembered all the times Emily used to cook while he sat on the couch, lost in his phone, saying, "Just 5 more minutes." The memory was sharp, and it stung. He ate alone at the dining table. The food tasted fine, but the quiet didn't. The silence was heavy, filled with unspoken words and moments he could never get back. After he finished, Jack washed the dishes immediately. No excuses, no leaving them for later. He paused, his hands still wet, looking at the clean, empty sink. "I should have done this sooner," he whispered to the empty room. The words hung in the air, a quiet confession to himself. That night, a message notification lit up his phone screen. But for the first time in a long time, Jack didn't open it. He didn't feel the desperate need to check, to hope, to wonder. Because for the very first time, this change wasn't for Emily to see. It wasn't a performance designed to win her back. This change was for him. It was about who he was becoming for himself. Chapter 15 of Love is Reborn, titled Change Doesn't Guarantee Forgiveness. Jack once held on to a simple belief. If he changed enough, everything would magically fall back into place. He thought transformation was the key to fixing the broken pieces of his past. But as he soon discovered, life just doesn't work that way. It's far more complicated and far more painful. One quiet afternoon, Jack bumped into a mutual friend, someone who knew both him and Emily. The friend spoke carefully, trying to soften the blow. "She seems happy," he said, the words hanging in the air. "But she's moved on." The words were gentle, meant to be kind, yet they hit Jack with the force of a tidal wave. They hurt deeply. That night, the silence of his apartment felt deafening. Jack sat alone, the glow of his laptop screen illuminating his face. He had a message open, one he had sent to Emily. He reread it slowly, each word a reminder of his desperate plea. He had admitted his mistakes, every single one. He had finally taken responsibility for the pain he caused. He had poured his heart out, promising to change, to be better. And in that quiet moment of reflection, a profound and difficult truth began to dawn on him. All this effort, all this change, it didn't earn him forgiveness. It wasn't a transaction where his good behavior bought back her love. It couldn't erase the past, couldn't undo the hurt. Most importantly, it didn't guarantee she would ever come back. With a heavy sigh, Jack closed the laptop. The soft click echoed in the stillness. For the very first time, he wasn't fighting the truth anymore. He was accepting it. He finally understood that he wasn't changing just to win Emily back. His transformation wasn't a strategy or a tactic. He was changing because the man he used to be simply wasn't enough. He wasn't the man he wanted to be. And whether Emily ever returned to his life or not, this new version of Jack, the one forged in heartache and self-reflection, was here to stay. He was finally changing for himself. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to T-News 9, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a chapter. See you next time.